So Formula E's Gen 4 car might be the biggest technological advancement in the series history. Almost every aspect of the car has been upgraded. Power, regen, battery capacity, aerodynamics, even the tires. As a result, the new car is much faster than its predecessors, but also quite a bit bigger and heavier. Therefore, in order for Formula E to continue its amazing on-track racing, it'll have to look very closely at the circuits it goes to. In addition, with the new car having the potential to skyrocket Formula E's growth, the markets we race in are also incredibly important. And so today, I'll make my dream Formula E calendar for Season 13. Sort of. If it was my dream, we'd have circuits like Diriyah in New York, but because of things like redevelopment and remodeling, that just isn't possible. So, it'll be a realistic dream calendar. Circuits I think Formula E could definitely go to if they give it a bit of effort. Now here are my 6 main goals when making this calendar. Number 1. Avoid F1 or WEC clashes. Having a clash with F1 will lower the overall viewership, but it's still preferred to WEC since I know many of the drivers are planning dual programs. Number 2. Try to avoid long 3+ week gaps between races. It's definitely going to be hard because I have to work around F1 and WEC, but if I can't avoid it, I'll try to make the races on either ends double headers for some consolation. Number 3. Try to take advantage of good markets for motorsport or EVs, or take advantage of markets where big motorsports have left. Number 4. Make sure all circuits have decent fan access and aren't out in the middle of nowhere. Number 5. Make sure all circuits are up to FIA grade standard and can provide good racing for Gen 4. And number 6. Make sure the calendar is optimized for ease of travel and to reduce excess emissions. So, if anyone from Formula E is watching, definitely take some notes. And also, one last thing about the dates. The 2027 F1 or WEC calendars haven't been released yet, so I'll be using the 2025-2026 dates for the 2026-2027 calendar, if that makes sense. So it won't be exact date correct, but you should get a general idea of how I want the calendar to be laid out in comparison to other motorsports. Anyways, let's get started with testing. From November 10th to November 13th, we have testing in Valencia. As long as it doesn't flood, the circuit's been a staple of FE since the Gen 1 days and a great testing spot. Typically, testing occurs sometime near the end of October, but I've moved it up a little bit to November, and by the end of the video, you'll probably understand why. Fast forward to Friday, December 12th, and we begin our season with a doubleheader under the lights in Jeddah. I feel that with all the changes in the cars and the new circuits I'm planning to add, I think the best way to begin the year is with a known quantity. Jeddah will have run 4 races by this time, and if they move to the full layout, I think it's a track that will work well for the Gen 4 cars. It's quite a solid track for F1, and so FE will undoubtedly be better. Plus, the season opener is always one of the most important races in attracting new fans. I'm sure having it at Jeddah will make some F1 fans tune in, and since this race will be after the F1 season ends, they'll be able to get their racing fix. From here, about a 2-week break for the winter holidays, then we pick it back up on January 3rd with Marrakesh. This is a treat for the longtime FE fans, and to be honest, everyone. Marrakesh was one of FE's best circuits before it was dropped, and the fact that it's a market close to the city, a market that gets very little racing on its own, and the fact that the circuit has just been chilling there since FE left it, makes it a no-brainer to bring it back. In addition, it's a fairly wide circuit with not a lot of tight corners. With a little reprofiling, I think it would be perfect for the Gen 4s. After Marrakesh, we have another 2-week gap, and for good reason. We're crossing the Atlantic to South America, and bringing back another beloved circuit in Buenos Aires. This one might be a little tougher to revive, but it would be huge if they could. Argentina is yearning for an F1 race, so why not beat them to the punch? Buenos Aires was another fantastic circuit in its day, and I believe it's still very possible to host a race on that layout. It would of course need some tweaking, but in my opinion it's very doable, and brings a fan favorite back to its former glory. Next up, Sao Paulo. I love the street circuit they have here currently, but unfortunately I just don't think it'll be a good fit for the faster, longer Gen 4s, and there isn't really a lot of room to play with in modifying the track. What they can do though is go to Interlagos, one of F1's best circuits, and again, like Jeddah, Formula E is bound to be even better. I hope the circuit has enough braking zones for regen though. Gen 4 should hopefully make for less Peloton style racing, but on the longer, faster circuits it may get a bit difficult. Time will tell. 2 weeks, now we're in Mexico City. The only thing I would do here is make this race a doubleheader. It may also need some slight changes to its layout, maybe they can run the NASCAR layout used for the race with the S's, but I would absolutely keep the Forasol. That's all I ask. Outside of that, it's a great market and a great location, and I see no issues. After this race though, we unfortunately have a 4-week gap. This is right when the F1 season is beginning, and rather than try to compete with it, I'd wait till the first off week on March 21st and go to Miami. While I think there are better US venues, Formula E seems to have their hearts set on this, and to be honest, I'm intrigued enough to give them another shot. Just definitely make this one a doubleheader on the full circuit. But if those races are snoozers, then get ready for the next one. In another one of my more out there picks, I want to bring back Long Beach. April 4th weekend puts them 2 weeks before the IndyCar race, so hopefully that'll make it easier on the city officials and also pull in some fans who may be in town. We did go here back in seasons 1 and 2, but now we'd probably be able to run the full layout, which would be cinema. In addition to the great location, it's also one of the biggest EV markets, in not just America, but in the entire world. Definitely a prime opportunity to make some noise, or well, I guess I don't know, but definitely grow the sport. Next is another 3-week gap, but it's for good reasons as we're avoiding a WEC clash, and on April 25th, going to Montreal on the circuit Jules Villeneuve. Yes, Canada hates Formula E for whatever reason. But one of the big compromises that was offered up back when the original Montreal street circuit controversy went down was to race at Jules Villeneuve. But unfortunately, the Gen 1 cars were absolutely not ready for this circuit at the time. Fast forward almost 10 years, I think the Gen 4 should be fine. Montreal is another city with a growing EV market, but let's just hope that the Vancouver fiasco didn't sour too many Canadian fans. Another 3-week gap, but on May 16th, we returned to an OG country for Formula E, but at a brand new circuit, Sepang over in Malaysia. One of the most beloved circuits to ever be dropped by F1, I think Formula E coming here would be absolutely perfect. Drivers love it, fans love it, and it isn't far from Putrajaya where Formula E held their second ever race. Once again, take advantage of a market that F1 dropped, and a market that has an incredibly dedicated motorsport fan base. And this is also a bit of consolation for the Indonesian FE fans, who unfortunately aren't getting a race on this calendar. I think the government just wouldn't allow for it, but a flight to Malaysia would be a lot more attractive than having to go all the way to China or Japan, so giving Southeast Asia some love with this one. Speaking of which, May 30th we head over to Tokyo for their yearly weekend. Now, I know the current iteration of the circuit will absolutely need redesigning for the Gen 4. The good thing about this circuit is that there's quite a bit of space to redevelop it, with the majority of the circuit being in a parking lot. But look, the location is excellent, once again doing something other big motorsports can't and bringing a race to Tokyo. The fans are incredible over there, and I see absolutely no reason to do away from this circuit. Once again, we unfortunately have quite a long break. Just couldn't do much with F1 and Le Mans around this time, but we go back racing on June 20th in Shanghai. Once again, it's a circuit I feel will match the Gen 4s a lot better than the Gen 3s, especially if we go to the full layout, and of course, having the Chinese representation is incredibly important, especially for attracting new OEMs. And if not that, then it's just a massive EV market. Depending on how Sanya goes this year, maybe we could be heading there instead, but I think it would be difficult on that tight little track for the bigger cars. Now after China, next race is July 5th, which is a clash with F1, but I think as a standalone event, it should do just fine, as we're heading to the Istanbul Park in Turkey. Again, like Sepang, we're taking full advantage of F1 deserting a region of devoted motorsport fans, and maybe with some help from Ayhan Şengüven, Formula E can grow their Turkish audience. The one thing I'm worried about here is that the circuit doesn't seem like it's the most fan-friendly in terms of location, but it's a single header, so it can be a one-year experiment if it just doesn't work out for them. After Turkey, we head to Monaco for a double header, again with an F1 clash, but hopefully FE's draw for having good racing at Monaco, well, if it carries over into Gen 4 that is, can allow it to hold its own. Next up on August 8th is Zandvoort. Formula E has been very open about pursuing a race here, and honestly, it's not a bad call at all. F1 will be vacating it shortly, so just like Sebring and Istanbul, it'll become another circuit craving some high-speed open-wheel action, and that's exactly where Formula E can slot in. A week later, August 15th to 16th, we head to Berlin for the typical doubleheader at the Tempelhofring. This circuit will always be good for Formula E, and the Gen 4 should have absolutely no problem around here. And if they do, well, we could just make a whole new layout, no problem at all. And for the penultimate weekend of the year, it'll comfort the teams a little to go to a circuit they have plenty of experience in. Because for the championship finale on August 29th and 30th, we head to Brands Hatch. I really wanted to keep Excel. I think the location was fantastic, the novelty of having an indoor-outdoor circuit was amazing, but alas, it would just be too dangerous to have the Gen 4s race at, and I don't think there's enough space for them to make drastic changes. So we head to the next best option in my opinion, which is Brands Hatch. In terms of location, the circuit has an edge over something like Silverstone in that it's still decently close to London, which should absolutely help with fan experience. Otherwise, I think it's a fantastic venue with a ton of history, and FE concluding their championship here would be a worthy successor to Excel, hopefully. I still feel like they'll need to do something special to give this race the big race feel that the Excel circuit had, but hey, that's for FE to come up with. I've done my job. And with that, here's my realistic dream calendar for Gen 4 Season 13. Now, I know a lot of these may still be pipe dreams, and what may be even more of a pipe dream is to have a 30 race calendar. Basically every weekend that isn't Long Beach or Turkey, since I think those will be more difficult, will be a double header. I don't see the logic in paying to card out all the cars and personnel, getting the circuit ready, and having fans book hotels and make weekend plans, only to have a single race and all the sessions done in one day. It's part of the reason why I didn't go to Miami this year. At the very least, a doubleheader makes it so that it's worth going the extra mile to travel or book a hotel. And plus, it's more opportunity for the teams and drivers to get mileage underneath them. Yes, 30 races is high, but I think a 20 to 25 race calendar is definitely doable. Heck, if the current calendar was all doubleheaders, we'd have 22. I think all of us want more racing, and it might make more sense for us to get it. Now another thing. Not a lot of street circuits here. Sadly, I think this may just be where we're heading, not just because of the cars, but because it's been so much harder in recent years for FE to convince city governments that it's worth all the time, money, and effort to close down and put a race on. Gone are the days where we could head to Paris, or Rome, or Zurich every year for a weekend. And with the Gen 4s being designed as a more conventional open-wheel style race car, I think that the racing on permanent circuits can definitely improve. With that said, if FE plays their cards right, I would absolutely not be opposed to more street circuits. And if they are looking at it, here are the key cities I think they need to target. Seoul. They had a doubleheader here back in Season 8, but I think it's super important in terms of an EV market. Also, it's a market F1 left, so might have an opportunity there. With that said, I don't think the Yeongam circuit would be a realistic option with all the logistical issues F1 had. Speaking of which, we need a race somewhere in India. We basically have 2 Indian teams on the grid, and India has an incredibly passionate motorsport fanbase. But again, like it was in Hyderabad and Buddha for F1, logistical issues and government intervention kept this race from becoming a mainstay. I think a race in either New Zealand or Australia should also be on FE's radar. While not huge EV markets, I think that there is enough of a racing fanbase over there to sustain a race, especially New Zealand. But Australia also has some brilliant circuits. Imagine one around Surfer's Paradise. I think it would be important to have races in Italy and France, but I wouldn't want to go to the permanent circuits over there. The other series have those areas definitely covered. The only real option to grow the sport, I think, would be to have them back in the big city centers like Paris or Rome, which would definitely be a challenge. And last but not least, I think we need a street circuit in Scandinavia. Some cities like Oslo and Stockholm are huge for EVs, and again, it's a market basically no other open-wheel series is taking advantage of. This, I think, should be FE's #1 target for a street race in the coming years. But yeah, that is my sort of realistic dream calendar for Gen 4 Season 13. Let me know what you all think down in the comments. I'd love to hear what circuits you think Formula could have a realistic shot at and how you would lay out the races on the calendar as well. I'm incredibly interested to see what you have, but if FE can even apply some of the changes I've done to this list, like adding Sepang or Turkey or Long Beach even, I think that the Gen 4 era could be incredible. But well, subscribe for more Formula E content, and I'll see you all in the next one.